Greetings everybody, it's Rob from the Sage Tower, and we're here with another Pathfinder 2nd edition video. This is another archetype review video, and this one is specifically going to be about the next one on our list, the Archaeologist. Now, as always mentioned, in these videos I'll not only be looking at the archetype in terms of what it can do, how useful it can be, but also in terms of a GM perspective and how useful it could be for different campaigns that exist out there. So without further ado, let's hop on in to the Archaeologist dedication and take a look at it ourselves. The Archaeologist dedication requires you to be trained in perception, society, and thievery. You become an expert in society and thievery, and you gain a +1 to recall knowledge about ancient history, people, and cultures. This is a pretty solid dedication right off the bat. Giving you expert in society and thievery is pretty good, as well as +1 on recall knowledge about ancient things. If your campaign has to deal with something ancient, which most campaigns probably will have some ancient threat in them, or ancient civilization, this is a +1 bonus that will get used definitely at some point. The expert in society and theory are both really popular and important skills that can be used. Magical Scholastics gives you Detect Magic, Guidance, and Read Aura as occult cantrips. This isn't bad. I mean, if you don't have like a magic user in your group, these are like basic utility spells that can help you. Not terrible. I mean, it's not mind-blowing, but overall, if you have no magic users, you know, it's something. Settlement Scholastics. You become an expert in a lore skill about a specific settlement. If you're already trained in that lore skill, you also become trained in the lore skill for a different settlement of your choice. Choose a single common or uncommon language prevalent in that settlement. Now, this is a good one, actually, because a lot of times you'll be going to certain cities, certain regions, and having a lore check for that specific town or region will definitely help a lot. A lot of times as well, depending on the campaign, you may have the lore skill for the starting city that you're in, which is fine, but about halfway through the campaign, you're over in a whole different city, a whole different world, and that lore skill for that city may not be as useful for some of those sections. Now, this one gives you the ability to make the town one expert and get a second one in a different settlement. So that's really good. Lore checks usually have a lower DC by kind of GM design if the GM does it. And getting an extra language as well definitely helps a lot. Your other level 4 feat is Trap Finder. Now, I'll be honest, I've never been a huge fan of Trap Finder. It is a rogue ability and it's an investigator ability. Essentially, if you're playing a rogue or investigator, you will probably get this at some point in your class anyway, so you wouldn't pick this up through this archetype. If you're trying to play like a pseudo rogue or a pseudo investigator, because obviously it has society, has thievery, it can be useful. Basically, for those that aren't, you know, aware, it gives you +1 to perception and saves against traps. You can get to auto search for traps basically. And you can disable traps that require a proficiency in certain ranking. Now, this is good as long as you're the one leading the party to kind of set those traps off. If you have like a fighter or someone who leads the party, they'll trigger the trap instead, potentially. Now, it's great. The +1 against flying traps and against the AC, in my opinion, rarely comes too much into play in all my playtime, but it's there. It's one of those things that, like, if you're playing investigator rogue already, then there's no point. And if you're not playing it, then it's like, well, why aren't you playing it if you pick this up? It's a very weird, like, mix of things. Scholastic Identification. You have the knowledge needed to understand ancient texts and cultural artifacts. You can use society when deciphering writing, no matter the type of writing you're examining. And you can use society to identify magic. So This is actually an interesting one. This lets you use society to decipher writing and identify magic with it, which is pretty powerful because you'll be a master in it at this point. So master plus bonuses. Again, it really helps if you need to be that knowledge person in your group. Definitely not a pretty useful skill. Archaeologist luck. You fail a check against a trap, such as a thievery check to disable it, or reflex save to avoid its effect. You get to reroll the failed check. Now this one is actually not bad, actually. It's once per hour, and if you're going to be dealing with the traps a lot, disabling traps, this is actually a pretty good one. Even if you're a rogue or an investigator, someone who's working on the traps, being able to disable the traps and potentially give you that fail so you can actually avoid it is actually a pretty good one. I would definitely recommend this one. It's a pretty solid one overall. So it doesn't have much of a high prerequisite, and once per hour is a really good time. It's a really good time limit for it. Delay trap. And this is a rogue ability as well, and it lets you jam a trap basically. You attempt a thievery check against the trap with a +5 on the DC. If you succeed, you stop the trap from being triggered, but the GM gets to choose when it actually goes off. On a crit, you choose when it goes off. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really see much use out of this one. It's kind of one of those things that why would you delay it when you could just disarm it? Now the thing is, this is a reaction. So what happens is you go to disable a trap, you fail it. Let's say you don't have a hero point, you don't have archaeologist luck. On a normal fail, it normally doesn't trigger. Normally on a critical fail, it triggers. Now, of course, unless whatever you're doing happens to also be in the trigger area for the trap. You trigger the trap, it goes off. You as a reaction delay the trap, giving you time to either you to get out, or B, you to delay the trap and let your party get out of the zone and get past the room, let's say. Potential very niche in my opinion. You could also do some fun stuff where you delay a trap, run through, and then if an enemy is chasing you, they walk into the trap room. That would be a pretty crazy combo to pull off. But again, it's very special circumstance, and for a level 10 feat, I don't know if it's worth picking it up. And your last one is Greater Magical Scholastics. This requires you to pick up that first one, and you get Augury, Locate, and Non-Detection. It's okay. These spells are all right spells. They're not bad spells, but having Locate and Non-Detection, you really need a campaign that has a MacGuffin in it, some sort of item that you're trying to find, some sort of item that you're trying to hide, some people trying to get it, that kind of stuff. The golden idol, that kind of rare item. If you don't have that kind of thing, most of these spells probably won't get much use out of them, as opposed to where magical scholastics actually had some use to them, because you would actually be able to detect magic, read auras. Those are useful skills no matter what really campaign is going on. But Locate and Non-Detection is a tricky one. Augury isn't bad, but overall, between the level 10 feats, if these are my two options, I could either pick a class feat or these. I mean, a class feat might be better. At this point, Archaeologist luck is really good. Scholastic identification is good. 7 scholastics is not bad. Those are the kind of feats that I would pick up from this one personally. Overall though, it's actually pretty impressive as an archetype. Now I'm gonna hop back to the big screen for you guys, and we've had some, in my opinion, some duds recently. Alter Ego wasn't that thrilling. Alkenstar Agent wasn't that thrilling. Animal Trainer, again, these kind of weren't that impressive. Archaeologist is actually pretty cool. It lets you play a little bit of a rogue type flavor in your character without being a rogue. That very Indiana Jones type, disabling traps, but also really knowledgeable on ancient societies, can definitely help if your campaign leans into that. Make sure you know what your campaign's about. If you're going into that way, I would definitely recommend this as a useful archetype. It's actually not bad. One of the better ones we've actually reviewed. Now, if you have played as this archaeologist archetype, let me know in the comments down below. And of course, as always, while you're down there, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because as always, it helps immensely. And thank you guys for watching this video.